John F. Kennedy. Even the name sounded like hope. He was young, energetic, and promised a new frontier for America. People saw in him a leader who cared, a president who wanted to make life better for everyone, not just the wealthy. He championed civil rights, dreamed of landing a man on the moon, and inspired a generation to ask what they could do for their country. He was a public figure, always in the spotlight, giving speeches, shaking hands, and meeting with world leaders. But what many didn't know was that behind the scenes, away from the cameras and the crowds, JFK carried out quiet acts of kindness. These weren't for publicity or political gain. They were simply because he believed in helping those less fortunate. He understood that even in a land of opportunity, some families needed a helping hand, a boost to get back on their feet. This is the story of one such act of kindness, a secret that remained hidden for years, a secret that profoundly impacted a family's life, changing their destiny in ways they could never have imagined. It's a story of compassion, generosity, and the enduring power of a single, selfless deed. It begins not in the White House, but in a small, unassuming town, with a family facing hardship and a president with a heart bigger than anyone knew. His leadership guided a nation, but his secret kindness quietly lifted a family from despair. The Davis family lived in a small, cozy house on Maple Street. It wasn't fancy, but it was filled with love. Thomas, the father, was a strong and dependable man. He worked at the local factory, always arriving early and staying late, doing his best to provide for his family. Mary, the mother, was the heart of the home. She had a warm smile and a gentle touch. She took care of the house, cooked delicious meals, and made sure her children always felt loved and safe. Their 2 children, 8-year-old Emily and 6-year-old Michael, were bright and energetic. Emily loved to read and dreamed of becoming a teacher. Michael was a playful boy who loved to build things with his toy blocks, imagining himself as a great architect. They were happy children, content with simple things, like playing in the backyard or listening to their mother read them bedtime stories. But times were tough. The factory where Thomas worked was struggling. There were rumors of layoffs, and everyone was worried about their future. The Davis family tried to save every penny they could. They cut back on unnecessary expenses, like going to the movies or buying new toys. Mary even started growing vegetables in their small garden to save money on groceries. Despite their efforts, they knew they were living on the edge, one missed paycheck away from disaster. They were a loving family facing a difficult situation, unaware that a secret act of kindness was about to change their lives forever. They were just trying to hold on to hope, just like the rest of the country. The day Thomas lost his job felt like a dark cloud had settled over the Davis household. He came home with a heavy heart, his shoulders slumped. He sat Mary down at the kitchen table, his voice barely a whisper as he told her the news. The factory had finally succumbed to the economic downturn, and he was one of the first to be let go. Mary's eyes filled with tears, but she quickly wiped them away, trying to stay strong for Thomas and the children. She knew this was a serious blow. How would they pay the mortgage? How would they buy groceries? The fear was palpable, hanging in the air like a thick fog. That night, the children sensed something was wrong. The usual laughter and chatter were replaced by hushed tones and worried glances. Emily asked her mother if everything was okay, and Mary, forcing a smile, assured her that it was, but Emily wasn't convinced. The next few weeks were filled with anxiety. Thomas diligently searched for a new job, but every door seemed to close in his face. Rejection letters piled up, each one chipping away at his hope. The savings they had carefully accumulated dwindled with each passing day. They started missing payments, and the threat of losing their home loomed large. Despair began to creep in, threatening to extinguish the light of hope that had once burned so brightly in the Davis home. They felt lost and alone, wondering if things would ever get better. The weight of their situation was almost unbearable. One ordinary Tuesday morning, as Mary sorted through the mail, a plain, white envelope caught her eye. It had no return address, just her name and address typed neatly on the front. Curiosity piqued, she opened it carefully. Inside, she found a handwritten letter and a check. The letter was short and to the point. It read, "Dear Davis family, I understand you are going through a difficult time. Please accept this small gift as a token of hope. Remember, even in the darkest of times, there is always light. A friend." Mary's hands trembled as she unfolded the check. It was for a substantial amount, enough to cover their mortgage for several months and provide some breathing room. Tears streamed down her face, but this time, they were tears of relief and gratitude. She couldn't believe someone would do something so kind, so selfless. She immediately showed the letter and check to Thomas. He was equally stunned. They read the letter over and over, trying to decipher who their mysterious benefactor could be. They racked their brains, thinking of anyone who might be so generous, but they came up empty. That evening, after the children were asleep, Mary and Thomas sat at the kitchen table, discussing their incredible stroke of luck. They knew this gift was a lifeline, a chance to get back on their feet. They felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude towards the anonymous stranger who had restored their hope and saved them from despair. They decided to use the money wisely, to ensure a brighter future for their family. A single act of kindness had turned their world upside down, replacing fear with hope and uncertainty with a renewed sense of possibility. The anonymous gift was more than just money, it was a second chance. Thomas, with renewed determination, continued his job search. This time, the pressure was lessened, and he felt more confident. He spent hours at the library, researching companies and tailoring his resume to each specific job opening. Mary, too, felt a sense of hope she hadn't experienced in weeks. She focused on creating a positive and supportive environment for her family. Within a few months, Thomas received a phone call. A local construction company was looking for a foreman, and Thomas's experience and skills made him a perfect fit. He aced the interview and was offered the job on the spot. It was a better job than the one he had lost, with a higher salary and better benefits. The Davis family was overjoyed. They celebrated with a simple but heartfelt dinner, grateful for the opportunity to rebuild their lives. They never forgot the anonymous gift that had saved them from ruin. They tried everything they could to find their benefactor, placing ads in the local newspaper and asking around the community, but their efforts were in vain. The friend who had helped them remained a mystery. Despite their inability to identify their secret helper, the Davis family made a pact to pay it forward. They volunteered at the local soup kitchen, donated to charity, and always looked for ways to help others in need. They wanted to honor the kindness they had received by spreading that same kindness to others. The anonymous gift had not only saved their family but had also inspired them to become more compassionate and generous members of their community. The ripple effect of JFK's secret act of kindness had begun. Years flew by. Emily and Michael blossomed into bright and capable young adults. Emily, true to her childhood dream, became a dedicated elementary school teacher, shaping young minds with passion and care. Michael, with his love for building, pursued architecture, designing innovative and sustainable buildings that improved communities. Thomas and Mary watched their children's successes with immense pride. They had worked hard to provide them with the best possible education, instilling in them the values of hard work, kindness, and gratitude. They always reminded Emily and Michael about the anonymous gift that had changed their lives, emphasizing the importance of helping others in need. Emily and Michael, deeply influenced by their parents' experiences, also embraced the spirit of giving back. Emily often volunteered her time tutoring underprivileged children, while Michael designed community centers pro bono. They understood that their success was, in part, due to the generosity of a stranger, and they felt a responsibility to use their talents to make the world a better place. As the years passed, the mystery of their anonymous benefactor remained unsolved. They often wondered who it could have been, imagining different scenarios and possibilities. They knew that whoever it was, they had changed the course of their family's history, setting them on a path of success and service. The Davis family continued to live a life filled with purpose and gratitude, forever grateful for the unexpected act of kindness that had transformed their lives in unimaginable ways. They were a testament to the power of compassion and the enduring impact of a single, selfless deed. The children were unaware of how close they were to learning the truth. Michael, now a rising star in the architectural world, was invited to a prestigious fundraising gala for a new community center in Washington, D.C. He was excited to attend, both to support the cause and to network with other professionals in his field. As he mingled with the crowd, he overheard a conversation that caught his attention. Two older gentlemen were reminiscing about President Kennedy and his lesser-known acts of charity. One of them mentioned a story about JFK anonymously helping a struggling family during an economic downturn. He recalled how Kennedy had a special fund dedicated to helping families in need, and how he often personally reviewed letters requesting assistance. Michael's ears perked up. He couldn't help but feel a strange connection to the story. The details were vague, but something about it resonated with him. He discreetly moved closer to the conversation, hoping to hear more. He never wanted any recognition for it, one of the men said. He believed it was simply the right thing to do. He used to say, "A rising tide lifts all boats," and he truly lived by that. The other man nodded in agreement. He was a remarkable man, President Kennedy. A true leader, both publicly and privately. Michael's mind raced. Could it be possible? Could President Kennedy have been the anonymous benefactor who had saved his family? The thought seemed almost too incredible to be true. But the timing, the circumstances, and the emphasis on anonymity all aligned with his family's experience. He knew he had to investigate further. This chance encounter had planted a seed of curiosity that he couldn't ignore. The pieces were starting to come together. Michael started his investigation by visiting the John F. Kennedy Presidential Library and Museum in Boston. He spent days poring over documents, letters, and photographs, searching for any clue that might connect JFK to his family. He focused on Kennedy's personal papers, hoping to find a mention of the anonymous fund or any correspondence related to struggling families. He spoke with historians and archivists, asking about JFK's charitable activities and his commitment to helping those in need. He learned that Kennedy was a deeply compassionate man who often went out of his way to assist individuals and families facing hardship. However, much of his charitable work was done discreetly, without any public fanfare. One day, while examining a collection of letters sent to President Kennedy by ordinary citizens, Michael stumbled upon a file labeled Special Assistance Requests. Inside, he found copies of letters from families across the country who had written to JFK seeking help. He carefully reviewed each letter, his heart pounding with anticipation. Then, he found it. A letter from a woman in a neighboring town, written around the same time his family received the anonymous gift. The woman described a similar situation, a struggling family facing financial ruin due to a job loss. Attached to the letter was a handwritten note, seemingly from JFK himself, instructing an aide to look into this and see what we can do to help. The note was signed with a distinctive JFK. Michael felt a surge of excitement. This was it. This was the confirmation he had been searching for. The handwriting, the timing, and the circumstances all pointed to one conclusion: President John F. Kennedy was the friend who had saved his family. He gathered all the evidence he had collected and prepared to share his findings with his family. The truth was finally within reach. Michael arranged a family dinner at their childhood home on Maple Street. Thomas and Mary, now older but still filled with the same love and warmth, were eager to hear about Michael's trip to Washington, D.C. Emily, too, was curious about what he had been working on. As they sat around the dining table, Michael carefully laid out his findings. He showed them the letter from the woman in the neighboring town, the handwritten note from JFK, and the information he had gathered about Kennedy's anonymous fund. He explained how the timing and circumstances aligned perfectly with their own experience. A hush fell over the room as Thomas and Mary examined the evidence. They recognized the distinctive JFK signature and the compassionate tone of the note. Tears welled up in Mary's eyes as the realization dawned on her. "It was him," she whispered, her voice filled with emotion. "It was President Kennedy who helped us." Thomas nodded in agreement, his eyes shining with gratitude. "He was a good man, a truly good man." Emily was equally moved. She had always admired President Kennedy, but now she felt an even deeper connection to him. She understood that his kindness had not only saved her family, but had also shaped their values and inspired them to make a difference in the world. The Davis family sat in silence for a moment, overwhelmed by the revelation. They had finally solved the mystery that had haunted them for so many years. They now understood the true extent of President Kennedy's compassion and his commitment to helping those in need, even anonymously. The truth had finally come to light, bringing with it a profound sense of closure and gratitude. They knew they had to find a way to honor his memory and to continue paying forward his act of kindness. Inspired by the revelation, the Davis family decided to establish a foundation in President Kennedy's name. The foundation's mission was to provide financial assistance to struggling families, mirroring JFK's anonymous act of kindness. They wanted to ensure that other families facing hardship had the same opportunity to rebuild their lives and achieve their dreams. Thomas and Mary dedicated their time to overseeing the foundation's operations, reviewing applications, and meeting with families in need. Emily used her teaching experience to develop educational programs for underprivileged children, while Michael designed affordable housing projects for low-income communities. The Kennedy Foundation quickly gained recognition for its impactful work. It provided grants to families facing job loss, medical emergencies, and other unexpected crises. It offered scholarships to students from disadvantaged backgrounds, enabling them to pursue higher education. It supported community initiatives that promoted economic development and social justice. The Davis family's efforts touched countless lives, creating a ripple effect of generosity and compassion. They often shared their story with the families they helped, emphasizing the importance of paying it forward and never losing hope, even in the darkest of times. Through their foundation, the Davis family not only honored President Kennedy's memory but also continued his legacy of kindness and service. They proved that even a single, selfless act can have a profound and lasting impact, inspiring others to make a difference in the world. Their lives became a testament to the power of compassion and the enduring legacy of a president who cared deeply about the well-being of ordinary Americans. The family's foundation became a beacon of hope for so many. And so, the story of JFK's anonymous act of kindness lived on, not just in the hearts of the Davis family, but in the countless lives they touched through their foundation. The ripple effect of his compassion spread far and wide, creating a wave of generosity that transformed communities and inspired individuals to make a difference. The Kennedy Foundation became a symbol of hope and opportunity, a testament to the power of a single, selfless deed. It demonstrated that even in the face of adversity, kindness can prevail, and that even the smallest act of compassion can have a profound and lasting impact. President Kennedy's legacy extended beyond his political achievements and his vision for a new frontier. It encompassed his quiet acts of charity, his commitment to helping those in need, and his belief in the inherent goodness of humanity. He understood that true leadership meant not only guiding a nation but also lifting up those who were struggling. The Davis family's story served as a reminder that we all have the power to make a difference in the lives of others. Whether it's through a grand gesture or a simple act of kindness, we can create a ripple effect of positivity that transforms the world around us. Just as President Kennedy's anonymous gift had changed the course of the Davis family's history, so too can our actions shape the destinies of others. The Davis family ensured his quiet act would live on forever. This story reminds us that even the smallest act of kindness can have an unimaginable impact on someone's life. It shows us that a single gesture of compassion can spark a chain reaction of generosity, transforming communities and inspiring hope in the face of adversity. President John F. Kennedy's legacy extends far beyond his time in office. It lives on in the countless lives he touched, both publicly and privately. His commitment to helping those in need, his belief in the power of service, and his unwavering optimism continue to inspire generations. The Davis family's story is a testament to the enduring power of kindness and the importance of paying it forward. They took an act of generosity and turned it into a movement, creating a foundation that has transformed countless lives. Their story reminds us that we all have the power to make a difference, no matter how small our actions may seem. Let us remember the lessons of this story and strive to emulate President Kennedy's compassion and the Davis family's commitment to service. Let us look for opportunities to help others, to offer a hand to those in need, and to spread kindness wherever we go. For in doing so, we not only honor the legacy of a great leader but also create a better world for ourselves and for generations to come. The world can always use a little more kindness. The end.